Have you ever had a night so painfully ordinary that nothing about it stood out? No arguments, no visitors, no plans, just silence. That kind of night where the house feels heavy, almost too quiet, and you swear you can hear every creak of the floorboards, every hum of the refrigerator, even the faint tick of the clock on the wall. It was one of those nights, the kind you forget as soon as you fall asleep. But this night, I will never forget, because in a matter of hours, my safe little world would turn into something straight out of a nightmare. A night that didn't just scare me, it carved itself into my memory so deeply that even now, years later, I can't think about it without shivering. At the time, I had no reason to expect anything unusual. I wasn't waiting for anyone. My phone was silent. My parents were away for the weekend. My brother was out of town. I was completely, utterly alone. And maybe that's why I remember the details so vividly. The faint glow of the lamp on my nightstand, the cool air drifting from the vent, the weight of the book in my hands as my eyelids started to grow heavy. It was all so calm, too calm. The kind of calm that makes what happened next feel even more unreal. Because in a moment, without warning, that silence would shatter and my life would never be the same again.
I grew up in a small, ordinary family home. Nothing fancy, just four walls, a roof that leaked during heavy rain, and a narrow hallway that always seemed darker than it should be. As a kid, I shared a cramped bedroom with my older brother. 2 twin beds pushed against opposite walls, 2 old dressers, and barely enough space between them to walk without bumping your knee. Privacy didn't exist in that room. If one of us was awake, both of us were awake. If one of us was angry, both of us were miserable. But when he left for college, everything changed. For the first time in my life, I had the room to myself. I pushed his bed out, dragged in a desk, and made the space my own. It felt like freedom, my own little world, my sanctuary. I didn't realize then how temporary it would be. Years later, after graduation, real life pulled me right back home. My brother returned too, and naturally, he reclaimed his old room. The sanctuary I had built vanished overnight, and I was exiled to the guest room. Now, this room wasn't like the others. It was tucked away upstairs, right above the garage, with walls that didn't quite keep out the draft. 2 small windows looked out in different directions, one toward the driveway and the other toward the side yard. It should have felt private, but instead, it felt isolated. And then there was the garage door. Every time someone opened it, the entire floor beneath me would tremble like a short, violent earthquake that rattled the bed frame and made my lamp flicker. At first, it was just annoying. Eventually, I barely noticed it. But that night, that one night, when I heard the garage door rumble to life, when the floor shook beneath me, even though no one was supposed to be home, that's when my sanctuary turned into a trap. It was a Friday night, 11:30 p.m. The house was mine, empty, silent. My parents had gone to their beach house for the weekend. My brother was hours away in another city. For once, I didn't mind the loneliness. It felt peaceful. I was sitting in bed, half asleep, when it happened. The floor shuddered. A deep, metallic rumble vibrated through the walls. The garage door. My heart stopped. Nobody was supposed to be home. At first, I told myself it had to be a glitch, a power surge, maybe the wind. But the sound was unmistakable. The heavy, grinding chains, the sharp clank as it locked into place. Someone had opened it. Music shifts, soft metallic scraping layered in. I grabbed the only weapon I had, a dusty old baseball bat leaning against the corner of my room. My hands trembled as I wrapped my fingers around the handle. My brain screamed at me, "Stay upstairs, lock the door, call for help." But my body moved anyway, slowly, step by step, toward the staircase. Every creak of the floorboards felt like an explosion in the silence. Then I heard them. Voices. Two men, whispering, low, urgent. They weren't in the garage anymore. The sound drifted from my parents' bedroom, just below me. I froze halfway down the stairs, gripping the bat so tight my knuckles turned white. My mouth went dry, but I forced myself to pull out my phone. 911. The operator answered quickly, her voice calm, steady. She whispered, "Stay hidden. Help is on the way. Don't move." But I couldn't just stand there, because, as I listened closer, I realized they weren't just whispering, they were searching, opening drawers, shutting closet doors, moving things. And then one of them laughed. It was quiet, cold, a sound I'll never forget. At that moment, hiding wasn't an option anymore.
I couldn't wait any longer. Adrenaline surged through my veins like wildfire. Gripping the bat, I stormed into my parents' bedroom. "Hey!" I screamed. The men froze. Time seemed to stretch, every second a knife edge. The first one turned just in time for me to swing the bat. Crack! It hit his leg. He howled, collapsing to the floor with a thud that made my chest ache. But before I could react, the second one lunged. His hands wrapped around my throat like iron. I gasped, clawing at his grip, but it only tightened. My vision blurred. Red spots danced at the edges. And then I saw him. The first man, crawling toward me across the floor. A knife in his hand, gleaming under the dim lamplight. I couldn't breathe. Every instinct screamed, "Run? Fight? Die?" I felt my strength slipping, my legs trembling like wet noodles, my heart pounding in my ears. And then, the sound. Sirens. The piercing wail of approaching police cars cut through the night. The men panicked. The second one shoved me to the floor and bolted toward the back door. The first man dropped the knife and disappeared into the shadows. I collapsed, gasping for air, my chest burning, my head pounding. The last thing I remember before everything went black, a sharp blow to the back of my head, and silence.
When I woke up, the world felt strange. The room was dim, smelling faintly of antiseptic and fear. An officer leaned over me, his flashlight reflecting off his badge. "Hey, you're awake," he said, voice low but steady. I tried to speak, but my throat was raw, my mind foggy. The events of the night crashed over me like waves I couldn't escape. I survived, somehow. But the burglars, they were gone, vanished into the night like shadows. And that's when it hit me. The garage door, the one that shook the floor beneath my room. It could only be opened with the remote, the one in my car. And I never, ever locked my car. A chill ran through me. My stomach turned cold. They knew me. They knew my family. They knew exactly where I'd be, exactly how to get in. Every laugh, every argument, every secret exposed. The idea that strangers could know your life so intimately,
It was terrifying. Even now, years later, I still can't shake it. Every creak of a floorboard, every garage door opening, my heart still stops. Because that night wasn't just a break-in, it was a message, a warning. And I'm still not sure who exactly knew everything about us.
Months had passed. I thought I was finally safe, living in a quiet duplex near my mom's house. The walls felt secure, the locks sturdy. I let myself breathe. Then the phone rang. A calm, professional voice on the other end said, "Your mother has fallen. She's been rushed to the ER." My heart froze. My mind raced. The nurse knew my mother's full name, her exact address, even medical details that nobody outside the family should know. I grabbed my keys, my adrenaline surging. I didn't stop to think. My only thought was reaching her. I arrived at the hospital, but something felt wrong. The front desk had no record of her being admitted. No name, no accident, no ER bed. Panic twisted in my stomach. I called my mom. Her voice answered from her bed, at home, safe, completely fine. A cold realization hit me. It was a setup. Someone had lured me away from my house. I raced back, my heart pounding like a drum in my chest. What I found stole my breath. My home had been ransacked. Jewelry, my laptop, everything of value gone. But it was worse than theft. Family photos vanished. Not the frames, just the pictures. Even my medicine bottles had been rifled through, some missing entirely. It was clear. This wasn't random. This wasn't just robbery. It was personal. Someone knew me. Someone knew my life, and they wanted to send a message.
Weeks passed. I was still trying to piece my life back together when it happened. A knock at the door. At first, it sounded normal, ordinary. But when I opened it, he was there. A man I'd never seen before. Wild eyes, clothes wrinkled, dirty. His voice, shaking but angry. "This is my house," he screamed. "You're in my home." I froze, gripping the doorframe, unsure if this was a nightmare or reality. Then he started listing details, things no stranger could ever know. "The bathroom door," he shouted. "It hits the toilet every time you close it. The back door, it sticks unless you lift it first." Every word cut deeper, because he was right. Those were flaws I'd lived with every day. Things only someone who'd been inside would understand.
And then he pulled out photographs. My stomach dropped. They were recent. Pictures of him inside my home, sitting on my couch, cooking in my kitchen, even smiling with people I had never seen before. I threatened to call the police, my hands trembling as I reached for my phone. But he just smiled. A slow, unsettling smile. Then turned and walked away. No fight, no rush, like he knew something I didn't. When the landlord arrived, he swore he had never rented to anyone like that. The police brushed it off, calling him unstable, just another drifter. But 2 weeks later, my house was broken into again. No shattered windows, No broken locks. Nothing forced. Whoever it was had a key.
Tell me, what do you think really happened? Was I just another victim of some elaborate scam? Clever thieves who studied my family, learned our weaknesses, and tore into my life piece by piece? Or was it something darker? Something far beyond logic? Because when I replayed it all, the break-in, the fake nurse, the stranger who knew everything about my home, it doesn't add up. It feels calculated, almost personal. And here's the part that keeps me awake at night. I still don't know who was behind it. I still don't know if they're out there, watching me, waiting for the moment I let my guard down again.
But one thing I know for certain, once you've looked death in the eyes, once you've felt the weight of hands around your throat, seen a knife glinting inches from your skin, you're never the same again. The silence in your own home doesn't comfort you anymore. It terrifies you, because silence means you might not be alone. If this happened to you, would you ever feel safe in your own home again? Tell me in the comments.